my goodness, that was horrible. I apologize. Um, I was trying to think about um the different like pastel and crayon materials that I have. One of the reasons that I was thinking about this was from my other video where I talked about in this mixed media series where I talked about chunky materials and how having chunky materials has been helpful with loosening up my approach, my marks. And I was thinking about that last night while my anxiety was really high last night. So I had gotten up, it was like 8. I had gotten up and just started doing some little plant scenes with my oil pastels and soft pastels. Um, just some small little, sketches to help just, get my mind quieted from the heightened anxiety. And I pulled out these soft pastels by Faber-Castell, and they made me think about my Neocolor crayons because I really like I really like crayons. I like wax crayons. That's what I'm finding out. So I have the Faber-Castell soft pastels, and these are more like chalky, but they're soft. And then these are the Montmartre oil pastels, and these are more creamy. Okay. And then I have the Karen Dash Neocolor. I have a handful of Neocolor ones. These are the ones that Neocolor ones are not water soluble. They're like crayons, and then or they work like crayons work, right? You can't wet crayons. And then these are Neocolor twos, and these you can wet. Hello, hi there. Um, and then the last thing that I have are um, woodless watercolor pencils. So when I was thinking about like what I wanted to share, um, I was thinking through like these sketches and what about these sketches did I like, what didn't I like, and I showed y'all these, and I did these with the soft pastels, and then I pulled out my Neocolor. Let's see, I think I used Neocolor ones with these and the woodless crayons or the woodless watercolor pencils, and I did a few of these. So that's what these look like with that material. Um, right? And so I'm like, okay, what what is the difference for me between like the sketches that I created with these the Neo colors, and then what's the difference with the like soft pastels and the oil pastels. And I have been on, and I think that most mixed media, most artists, most creative people, I think in any medium of art, are always searching for ways to continue to loosen up, right? I could go off on a whole tangent about that part of it, right? Like we grow up in the majority of us, at least in the Western world, grow up in such a constricted creative space, meaning many people don't have access to art teachers, supplies, different techniques, and things like that. Lots of one of the first places outside of mental health that usually gets cut from like education and any kind of programming is usually like creative art stuff. And so loosening up is critical for any creative because of the constricted creative environment, right? Because we've been socialized in a very creative, constrictive environment. Okay. And so, one of the ways that I have been practicing that, exploring looseness, has been through like chunky materials, and then also I love crayons. I really like these Neocolor ones. Um, and after doing a few sketches with the soft pastels and the oil pastels, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see the difference in why I like the wax crayons versus these. The other piece too that I considered about why I prefer the sketches, why I just even enjoyed the process, not just the outcome, but just even the process of creating these really quick sketches with the crayons, is that these are more controllable. Like I feel like I have more control over the material, versus with these it feels like I can't, not I can't, but it's just an uncontrollable material. You'll get the texture and the effects from the soft pastels and oils pastels, and there you get different effects even between those things, right? Like the soft pastels are more chalky, I would say, even though they're soft and softish. And then you have the oil pastels, which are very, very creamy, but you can still get like very textured mark on your paper, right? And then with the neo colors, and then also with like woodless watercolor pencils, it's just a little bit more control. Like I feel like I can control where I want the marks to go. The other thing too about soft pastels and oil pastels is you kind of have to create and sculpt hard edges for both of these things, right? And then with the neo colors, you can sharpen them, and then you can get a different effect, um, with that in mind. And then clearly, with like woodless watercolor pencils, you can sharpen them and get, a different effect. You lay them on the side. I like to do that. Lay them on the side, and color with them. You get a different effect. If you dip the watercolor pencil in water, as opposed to like drawing first and then wetting the paper, that creates a different effect. Um, the last thing that I want to say about when you are incorporating or exploring potentially like pastels or crayons in your mixed media kit, the other thing that you might want to have too is like some workable fixative. And this is a spray that helps with smudging, prevents smudging and wrinkling. You can rework the piece if you want to, but it protects pencil, pastel, and chalk drawings. So I sprayed some workable fixative on these sketches. And I could have sprayed them on the other ones, but these are more like these smudge more than the wax crayons do. So I sprayed these outside. You do not want to spray this in your house. Okay, do not spray this in your house. You want to spray this outside. Take your pieces outside and spray them. And then close the doors. Please know that I'm giving you these tips because I have already experimented with all of this. Okay, when you go outside, take your piece outside. Close the door behind you so the spray and the breeze doesn't blow the shit back into your house. Close the door, okay? Spray it. Leave it outside. Leave your piece outside. So wherever you're spraying this at, you want to leave it in a spot outside where it'll be fine. But leave it outside for like 5 minutes. It'll dissipate. Close the door behind you. Don't leave the door open. Okay? Even as you leave a piece outside, close the door behind you. Wait 5 minutes and then go out. Okay? So those are my tips for the workable fixative. Um, and I feel like with the loosening up and then the controlled materials, it just makes me think about, the process of creating, how much of this is very sensory and connected to our emotions. It's all very intuitive, right? I shared at the beginning of the live stream that I had really high anxiety last night, and you know was needed to just get some of that, get some of the racing thoughts, the anxiety thoughts out, and came and, sat at my art table and just started to create these, and then started to think a little bit more about what I wanted to talk to y'all about this morning, related to this process. And yeah. So those are my thoughts on soft pastels, oil pastels, wax crayons, and then woodless watercolor pencils. One of the things that I have not, I've done a interesting deep dive on materials like this, like pastels and wax crayons specifically. Um, the one that I saw, one of the companies, Faber Castell, used to make these gelato sticks, and they were like a gel wax combination of a crayon. And they don't make that anymore. But when I went back and started doing like research on on that particular medium, in all of the older videos and even recent videos where people still have these gelatos, but you just can't purchase them anymore, people rave about those gelatos. So I am on a hunt for um, some different wax crayons that are good in quality. I feel like Karen Dash, has like cornered the market a little bit with the wax crayons. I can't really find anything that is comparable to these that comes more affordable, like across a set, because as a set, these are pretty expensive. Um, so maybe that's where I'll wrap things up at. If you know of a good quality wax crayon, please suggest it in the comments. I'm definitely interested in um, yeah, like continuing to look for products or different tools. Let me say it like that. Tools like wax crayons that are different from Kieran Dash and a little bit more affordable, but also just different because I like to, try different tools. So yeah, I plan to come back on with another video. I got to do my art that I made this week video, the experiments, reflections, and themes one. So I'm going to come back on and do that, share a little bit more of some of the art that I made this week. And that includes some continuous line drawings that I did over the week. So if y'all are interested in that, if that's your jam, I'll be back on shortly to talk about um, some of my continuous line drawings throughout the week.